Information is important for every decision that we take in our lives. It is important for us, our families, our community, and our country. That is why our government stresses the importance of access to information to improve transparency and accountability. Our Constitution protects freedom of expression, and without access to information, we cannot exercise that right fully.
The Constitution of the Republic of Namibia, under Article 21, clearly made it a constitutional issue that everybody has got a fundamental right to information, and therefore the information from the government is not confined to the officials in charge of that information. The officials are by constitution obliged to avail that information.
For us to participate in the running of our country, we need access to information.
Transparency can only be where there is access to information. And access to information in relation to the fight against corruption particularly helps to expose many evils of corrupt practices and mismanagement of public resources.
If we have access to information on how much money was spent on the building of boreholes, for example, we can report when the service providers do substandard or incomplete work.
If there's supposed to be 3 boreholes drilled, and those boreholes are budgeted for this year, and a person comes there and drills 3 boreholes but doesn't equip them, and I know there's nothing budgeted for the next 3 years, then you can hold that company accountable by reporting back and saying, sorry, this was budgeted, you came here, you did half a job, but these boreholes are not functional.
Without access to information, we do not know what projects the government undertakes to improve our lives. We therefore would also not be able to say if a building site is progressing as it should, for instance.
About this construction, I'm not sure, but I think they are trying to build a mall or hospital or something like that.
Without access to information, we cannot actively participate in the improvement of society or make informed decisions. This is also true when we want to open a business, for example.
The information that we needed was, firstly, the population of that location. How many people in that location are of working age? The supply of consistent and reliable water, the supply and consistent of reliable energy. And all of those factors then came into play.
While businesses need access to information, government should send out information more proactively to make it available. Ingo Shanyenge was operating first from his home before he heard through a client about the Fab Lab, which helped him with information and the application for setting up shop at the incubator.
This kind of information won't really come to you. Some of us, sometimes you're in luck, you're in great luck, because I get some clients who work at a certain ministry and they say, did you know of A, B, and C that we offer at our ministry?
From a business point of view, I would like to see information in terms of what are the innovations that have been, where patents are either pending or these patents that have been that have been registered. A breakdown in terms of the different types of businesses that have been registered for that year. How many people are they employing? So sort of things that talk back to the economy and the direction of where we want to move the economy, and just information that helps you to track whether we are on track.
Government has got good policies. That everybody says, yes, good policies. They know about it. But the problem was the implementation. What does that mean? The final outcome. Somebody who's supposed to implement sit with the information because he or she knows. And these people don't know. So I don't need to do anything because they don't know.
Actively exercising our right to information by demanding it from government and giving feedback about services ultimately helps government to improve services.
We are now saying, if you are aware of it, you are entitled to demand for it. If you don't get it, when you complain through any other fora, we will be aware that there is an officer somewhere who is denying this service from the people.
If we arrive at the state hospital and we ask information and they don't want to give it to us, we usually leave it there. But that person have a supervisor. There's even a minister eventually in that chain where you can complain. So I want the citizens not just to accept, no. I want them to start exercising that right. And I want to invite them. If you have trouble, contact us so that we can at least assist you.
There's a lot of things that we can do as citizens. But the problem is that we are passive citizens.
Without access to information, we are not able to make use of other rights.
You cannot really access the right to freedom of expression, for example, if you don't have access to information. You cannot access the right to education or health if you do not have access to information.
Without information, there is no access to health. Pregnant women need to know where they can give birth, and everyone needs information if there's a cholera outbreak.
We had in 2014 a cholera outbreak in northern area. Everybody should get panic? What we should do in Windhoek if we go to Katatura, where sanitations and water issues, right? So what we really need to look at, we need those information. If we don't know where people are getting the water, what is the water source, is it contaminated or not, whether the food and hygiene and hand washing and all sorts of things there or not. If the diarrhea cases has increased suddenly and there is an outbreak in northern area, we need to check, is it cholera or not? And if it is cholera, then are we ready in Windhoek? WHO's, everything we do, it all depends on getting the right information, providing the right information to the right people so that we can take the right decision.
We need to know what rights we have as citizens and what we are entitled to in order to meaningfully participate in development and in life.
We seriously need to provide information to people. Sometimes people don't know that they've been exploited. They don't know that there's a better world out there. They think that's it. That's how things are supposed to be.
Government shouldn't always be responding, oh, we've already put it out in a public release or, a press release or whatever. It shouldn't be about that. It should be about being able to provide detail where detail is needed. And for citizens also to be able to go to government and say, this information isn't out in the public domain, but I should have a right to access this information. Give it to me.
Without access to information, we are not able to monitor how we are doing as a country and if the money we pay as taxes to the government, for example, is spent responsibly.
Even if it's not coming to me in the form of a job, I want to know, so as government, who has been paid these taxes on my wealth that you are administering on my behalf? What have you done with my tax?
People need to know what decisions are being taken for the improvement of their livelihoods. People need to know what decisions are taken for the expenditure of public resources. And they need to know whether projects that are being taken are for the public interest or not.
In recent years, our government has increasingly made efforts to share information on the budget, for example.
One area where government has made some positive steps forward is in terms of budget transparency. They have been producing for a few years a citizen's guide to the national budget, which explains in English but also several indigenous languages the main points of the budget, the main spending priorities, the main revenue streams. And I think this is quite important, especially for the sections of the population that don't have access to the internet. So we do see government making strides in certain areas, but it's not an across-the-board situation across government, but certain ministries and certain parts of government do see the importance of access to information.
Basically, we depend on the goodwill of public institutions to provide access to information.
Since 2012, a group of Namibian civil society organizations lobbies for more access to information and for an access to information law.
As the Action Coalition and as MISA Namibia, our main focal point is to raise awareness around why access to information is important. So even if we do get an access to information law, how will it be implemented, and will citizens understand the impact this law can potentially have on their lives? And will the citizens have the ability to ensure that they hold government accountable and that the law is implemented properly.
Even in the absence of a law, our government acknowledges that access to information is our right and that it is essential for development.
In terms of access to information, in Namibia, it must be understood that it is not a favor that the government is doing to its citizens. Once a decision is made, it is the right of the citizens to know about it. But also it is the right of the citizens to exercise their right responsibly by inquiring through the same means. For if they don't, the government will not necessarily know that things are happening the way they should. Because ultimately, these decisions are meant to benefit the citizens.